Next up on Music RS, rapper Cool Jeff U tells it like it was in the Roosevelt Rap.
A long time ago, 1882, a baby was born, known to me and to you. His mother called him Franklin, his father called him son. He grew up destined for Washington. Franklin D. Roosevelt, a.k.a. FDR, born along the river in the town of Hyde Park, was the only son. Sarah and James, collecting stamps and birds, were his favorite games. First he went to Groton and then to Harvard too. Had degrees in law and history by the time that he was through. March 17th in 1905, Franklin took Eleanor to be his bride. Had the same last name, but that don't mean nothing. They were far enough apart, they were fifth cousins. How'd he get started in politics? He ran for state senate from the Dutchess County Sticks. A Democrat from these parts was rare to see, but FDR made it to Albany. Then he backed Wilson at the National Convention, was a move that proved to make a valuable connection. Wilson was president. With the cane of gravy, he appointed FDR as the Secretary of the Navy. Then in 1920, just for kicks, FDR made his return to politics. Number 2 upon a ticket with a man named Cox. Not enough people marked the Democratic box. Making it in politics is tough, you know, but not as tough as dealing with polio. Now Franklin had a homegirl, they called her ER. Sent her off on trips both near and far, telling everybody that Franklin would be back. He wouldn't be stopped by a polio attack. Everyone around said, hey, that's great. They elected him to governor of New York State. Seems pretty easy now, doesn't it? But it couldn't have happened without Al Smith. Things around the nation were going pretty fine, and it wasn't until October 1929 Hoover seemed insensitive, as if he didn't care. He said relief was around the corner, but the statement didn't square. Franklin had the common touch, he knew how people feel. He spoke at the convention, pledged them a new deal. People were beside themselves, they knew not what to do. It wasn't until November 1932 they elected Franklin president from Prohibition era Parch. He didn't take the reins of power until early March, and he wasted not a moment to bring us from malaise past his later legislation, just 100 days. He was helping all the people by themselves and in groups with a recipe of programs, some called Alphabet Soup, AAA, CCC, and the NLRB, NRA, BOB, and the FDIC, TVA, NRC, WPA. He did it all. He went too far, some Republicans would say. You might think that I forgot in Alphabet Flurry SSI. I did not. Social Security was ahead of its time, but I almost left it out because it's so hard to rhyme. Try it out, and you'll see it's not an easy thing to do. If I had been FDR, it'd have been in term 2. GW had won when his term was at an end, avoiding tangling alliances if you can. The American public took this to heart. FDR knew different. He was way too smart. The appeasement at Munich, well, it worked for a while, but you give them an inch and they should have taken a mile. Soon England was clinging just by its toes, so Franklin to the rescue with a garden hose. All of a sudden, the war across the sea was brought to our door in a day of infamy. It took the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and Marines. In the factories back home, Rosie took to the machines. We grew gardens, bought war bonds, collected up scrap, fought on hard and pushed them all back. Hitler, Hirohito, Mussolini were the Axis leaders, but we had the big three. Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin too, were the Allied leaders who won World War II. I forgot to mention Fowler was a man's best friend. December 45, the war came to an end. Franklin didn't see it, for on April 12th he died. Let's not even mention who was there at his side. There's been a story, FDR's life, vision of the United Nations carried on by his wife. Two will find a rest in the grave at his home, in the garden where the roses, his name are still grown.
Per Lorenz was known as FDR's filmmaker and produced award-winning documentary films such as The Plow That Broke the Plains and The River. The Per Lorenz Film Center at the Franklin D. Roosevelt Presidential Library and Museum is proud to uphold his legacy.